I first tried for like a year on my own without anything going, I can do this. Like people recommended like practice books and I was trying to go through them. And what would often happen is that I would get confused on something like simple. Where I was at, I knew I didn't have enough, or I felt I didn't have enough to be able to take the exam and succeed.
Hmm.
I can't keep beating myself up because then I'm just feeling bad, and feeling bad is going to make me want to study even less. So after like months of doing that, I was just like, I need formal tutoring. I can't. I had formal tutoring in college. I had teachers. It wasn't just me by myself. So I definitely needed a bit more guidance, and that's how I ended up finding Genie Prep.
What are some of the things that you really liked about our courses and you felt that it really helped you pass the FE exam?
So I love the lecture style, the way you had the answers, like reasons why this one's wrong, reasons why this one's right, really helped me go, all right, that's going to my flashcards. Really made that much easier on the later half for me.
Was there anything specific that you did that helped you to keep showing up?
I had a couple things. I had a couple things in place.
You got your result. How did you feel at that moment?
It was just really like an accomplishment. I felt like I won a trophy or something. I was like, I can't believe it. I was just really proud of myself in that moment too. I was like, I did it. I actually did it.
Gabby, can you tell us a little bit about your background? When did you graduate and what was your major?
I graduated in May of 2022 and I have a degree in ocean engineering actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Ocean engineering. That's
the number
interesting.
one here.
Wow, okay. Um, okay, so based on that major, which FE did you decide to take and how did you decide between disciplines?
So a lot of ocean engineers end up taking the other disciplines since there is no FE dedicated to ocean engineering. But with the work I enjoy doing in my undergrad and the work I do now, I always lean more towards the mechanical side of ocean engineering. It's a very broad subject. It's kind of like the halfway point between civil and mechanical. They kind of shake hands. My professors would always call it the jack of all engineering degrees, since you do end up learning a little bit of everything. But my interests always lie towards more instrumentation and robotics and things of the like. And with that in mind, I thought taking FE Mechanical would make the most sense because I was aligning it with my own interests and the work I already do.
Hmm, interesting. Why did you choose ocean engineering?
Great question. So, reason why I chose ocean engineering, I've always been around water. I was about like large ships near bodies of water. And when it came time for me to like choose a school, choose a degree, at the time I was in oceanography in high school, and I was in also all the engineering courses my high school offered. So I just looked up quite literally ocean and engineering to see if there was anything to tie the two together, since I've always loved like marine biology and things of the like. I'm a big water person in general. And what came up was ocean engineering immediately. And I was like, that's a degree? I can do that? That's a future. And thus I found schools that offered it and applied. And that's how I kind of settled in that degree, just combining two sciences that I really liked.
That is pretty cool. And then in your college, you ended up liking more the mechanical side of it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
liking more mechanical side. I worked a lot with like instrumentation and like robotics and things of that. And that always got me more excited than not to knock everyone that's doing all of the stuff that like building docks and like all that. I understand the science. I like doing it, but in terms of like what would get me excited to like run to lab and start working on a research project, it was usually the mechanical stuff.
Yeah, interesting. That's pretty cool. Did you feel like college prepared you for the FE, or did you feel like you had to learn things differently this time?
Great question. So for my college didn't require students to take the FE, so which I know many other engineering schools do. So a lot of our classes were just geared towards you understanding material based on your major. So trailing off here, but for the mechanical FE, there were some subjects there that I myself did not take in college because I didn't
Mm.
take a strictly mechanical engineering degree. I took
Mm.
an ocean engineering degree. So things like more specifically heat transfer is not something I
Mm.
took beforehand. Pretty much everything else I did, but heat transfer was not one of those. My instrumentation classes were a bit different, and so are materials because my materials classes in college focus a lot on how to protect materials in an ocean environment since salt water is so
Mm.
corrosive towards materials and can damage a lot of things. Salt water is
Yeah.
hard to work with in general. So in that way, I kind of had to like one, learn and really be like my first time student seeing this information and just allowing myself to see it through a much broader lens than narrowing everything for an ocean application like I did in college.
Hmm, interesting. So going into this process, were you nervous or afraid about taking the FE exam?
Um, I was definitely nervous, not so much in me being able to, well, learn material. I'll add more on that later, but also just because in college I was a nervous test taker.
Okay.
I always was. But in terms of learning the material, I first tried for like a year on my own without anything going, I can do this. Like people recommended like practice books and I was trying to go through them. And what would often happen is that I would get confused on something like simple, like just going through like the first chapter for like mathematics. I'm like, how am I not getting this? I graduated, I have this degree. Why is this so hard? And that was like really detrimental to my confidence. So after like months of doing that, I was just like, I need formal tutoring. I can't, I had formal tutoring in college. I had teachers. It wasn't just me by myself. So I definitely needed a bit more guidance, and that's how I ended up finding Genie Prep.
Interesting. That's a really interesting process there because you graduated in 2020. So I would
2022.
say, what is it?
2022.
2022. I'm sorry,
It's
2022.
okay.
I did write 2022. I just said 2020. I don't know why.
Okay.
But that's kind of like a recent graduate, that was like 2 years ago. Um, but from experience and working over, I don't know, 3,000 students now, I feel like a lot of recent graduates, they start with that approach, studying on my own. But they end up taking the FE exam multiple times and then they fail it. And then eventually they go, okay, I'm gonna invest in a course that's gonna help me get there. But for your situation, after a year of you trying on your own, you stopped and you were like, you know what? I'm just gonna invest in a course. Why was that? Why didn't you just go ahead and take it and see where you at before you decided to invest in a course?
Where I was at, I knew I didn't have enough, or I felt I didn't have enough to be able to take the exam and succeed.
Hmm.
And again, since I was a very nervous test taker, the idea of me not feeling solid in those subjects before taking that exam I didn't want to entertain because I knew that wasn't going to end well. You always feel more confident in an exam, and you're like, I have done all these things, and I have reviewed everything, and I know what I'm walking into, I know what I'm doing when I walk in. And I
Yeah.
knew if I was just studying on my own, especially without like the support team that was also there with Genie Prep and everything, the schedule that was adhered and the streamlined way the courses were, it was less stress on me to try to basically form an entire lesson plan for myself. I had one given to me, and that made that process a lot easier. So when time came for the exam, I felt better walking into that room than I felt for admittedly any exam, except for a couple that like walking into college. Like I felt better here versus walking into Chem 101's final, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can actually totally relate to that. I think I was similar to you in terms of taking tests. I remember like in college, I would always like be shaking before the exam and then just like nervous and the sweaty palms and and your heart is racing and I mean I that was the same thing with the FE too going in. Um, and so because of that, I always overstudied. I always made sure, like you said, like I would never go to an exam without studying. Like I would always make sure that I'm feeling ready. Um, so that makes sense where you were like, I just don't feel ready. I'm not gonna take this. I need to be more prepared. How did you come across our channel and our courses? How did you hear about us?
Oh, super easy. I only looked up FE tutoring program and you were like one of the first things to pop up and I was like, cool. And then I looked into it. I looked at the YouTube channel, I looked at the documents they had available and like basically studied you guys before I went, yeah, this is the right program for me and then I applied for it. Registered.
Interesting. Okay, okay, that's awesome. Did you look into any other courses that are being offered?
Um, some, but at that point, since you guys had so much available for me to see, it didn't feel like I was walking something I only had half the story. I walked in knowing the whole story, which is also a lot more comforting. We're like, I know exactly what I'm getting. This is exactly what I need. versus some that are like, you have this and then maybe some other things, but you have to like do this to see that. You guys supplied all the information at first, made it really easy to find and very easy to digest. And I went, okay, for this, I know exactly what I'm walking into. These people seem awesome, so let's just go for it. And
That's
obviously
awesome.
some doubt, but yeah.
That's great. That's awesome. Okay, and what are some of the things that you really liked about our courses and you felt that it really helped you pass the FE exam?
So I love the lecture style. It was always explained in a way that it made it really easy to absorb. A lot of professors, I feel, in universities, they're the experts in their field and kind of forget how to describe something to someone that knows nothing
Mm,
in that subject. And this broke
yeah.
it down to like bare bones, really easy to understand. So that way, when it's scaled up as you got further into the chapters, you had the foundation ready, so everything else after that was much easier to understand.
Mm.
And if you didn't understand it, you can always go back to the video and watch it and be like, oh yeah, that's the refresher I need. I was forgetting that little detail there. Now later makes sense. And I like that a lot with the lectures. That helped a lot. Um, Oddly enough, the AI bot worked out when I was just like, I just need this described to me again. But I was really like working fast through something. I think it's described to me again, but maybe in a slightly different way, just so
Mm.
I could get it. And usually that happened at odd times of night where I didn't want like to send in an email or text someone to wake them up. I'm like, let's see if this AI bot has has and something for me here. So that did help out a bit as well, and having the back and forth with Rim of having someone to give updates to and someone that had support along the way was also super helpful. Of course, I have like my family and whatnot, but the idea of, at least in my head, it felt like I was going to like my teacher or like my TSA, be like, hey, I did this week, or I'm having trouble here, but I'm doing this to fix it. It felt a lot more just like being a student again, which was oddly reminiscent and nostalgic of being called a student again. It was actually quite nice.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. That's really cool. I'm glad the AI bot you found it helpful. I think s some students are afraid to use it,
Mm,
but I'm really glad you found it helpful. And we actually, right now, we're trying to update it as well, and we
okay.
want to incorporate it into our website, so you don't have to access it into Discord. So it will just show up on every single lecture video, and then we basically just training it right now, giving it the lecture information, provide all the information so that it can assist students more. But I'm really glad that you found it helpful. Um, and yeah, and then I'm really glad Rim was able to be there for you and support you along the way. I think when we go to college, we have that support system from our teachers, office hours, TAs, and our classmates. We study together, we go to the library if you get stuck. And I feel like you graduate, you start work, and then you have to do this FE exam alone. And I remember when I was studying, it just felt so lonely. I'm like, ugh, I'm so stuck. I don't even know if I'm studying the right way. I don't know if I'm going in the right speed. Should I go faster? Should I slow? Like I was so lost. And so when I created this program, I knew that, half of the battle is the study material, but I really felt like the other half was just like having somebody there to help you stay consistent, motivate you, like an accountability kind of thing, making sure that you're not gonna like, stop studying for like 2 months and then get back to it later. So I'm really glad that you found that support very helpful through your journey, to your FE journey. Yeah, that does help a lot. Um, did you use any other study material or practice exams in addition to our FE accelerator?
So for like practice exams that you all didn't offer,
Yeah.
I had two other ones. I had the FE practice exam booklet, like the
Okay.
printed out booklet, and I had the online interactive one as well from NCEES.
Okay. How did you find those exams? Did you find them helpful? Were they relevant to your actual exam when you took it?
I did find them helpful.
Okay.
I did find the difficulty between the two of them much different in terms of like the types of questions on them. I
Okay.
also found that using the booklet, it's a lot harder to do the same time strategy chart time strategy for labeling out your questions with a booklet because you kind of want to go page by page. versus
Hmm.
online where you're just clicking a button to see each question.
Yeah.
And it was like halfway through me reading the booklet where I'm going, why am I doing it this way? Why have I done this? Because it did eat up more time going page by page, but naturally you pick up a book, you want to just go in
Yeah.
order as you're flipping through the pages. So I find those were the two differences for that.
Got you. And by booklet, do you mean the NCS practice exam, like the PDF?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
physical one that they have, the I have it right
Yeah.
here actually,
It's the white one.
this one.
Okay. So
Can't see it there, but yeah.
you first got that one as a PDF and then you purchased the book. Is that what you did? Or you got it as a book right away?
I got it as a book right
As a
away.
book. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I think yeah, I've never thought about it like that because actually when I was studying for the FE, there was no interactive practice exams where you could just take online that's similar to the exam. So it
Hmm.
was just like all either books or PDFs. But yeah, I guess it does you can't flag. It does take you more time. You have
Yeah,
to write down like, oh, I didn't know I have to come back to this question. So then you have to flip all and that is kind of time consuming. Um, did you find so I know I don't think you had our practice exam, the mechanical, because we just launched it.
I
I
had
think,
the concept one, but not
yeah.
the second one. Yes.
Okay. And did you get access to the civil practice exam or no?
Hmm.
You
I
didn't?
did.
Okay. Okay. Because I remember Wim asked me, and I was like, we can provide the civil practice exam, and then you can just skip the civil problems. Did you found those relevant to the FE exam?
Absolutely, yeah. So for the mechanical concepts one, um, I found that extremely useful. It also showed me the plot holes I had for just base concept stuff that I was missing or forgetting. So I was
Mm,
able to use that to turn around and go, all right, in these subjects, I'll either forget or confuse or what have you, these things. They kind
mm.
of fall through the cracks there. So I was able to create flashcards on like a Quizlet to go, I want to really hammer down these concepts because if you don't understand the concept, you're not going to be able to apply the math to it later. So that was really helpful there. And then for the civil one, the difference between like I'll call the morning course classes between civil and mechanical, I feel like they're fairly the same. Thermo is thermo, dynamics is dynamics, statics is statics. So going through that was just a good way to practice being able to apply those concepts from that mechanical FE conceptual exam to actually apply problems in that similar online format that I was going to see on the FE exam.
Interesting. That's a really good point. So you started with the conceptual practice exam first,
Hmm.
learn all the concepts that you might have missed, reinforce everything, and then you took the practical one where you that I love that where you could apply the concepts that you learned. That's a really, did you on purpose think of that strategy or it just kind of happened?
That is kind of how it happened because when I was time, I was like, all right, it's time for me to take my next practice exam after like the one you take in the middle after the morning course. And that was the one that was available there. And I was like, all right, that's the one. But it also made sense to me since, yeah, this is you review your concepts first before you go and
Mm.
apply them. So that's just kind of how it happened, but it worked.
Yeah, that's great. I'm gonna start recommending that to our students. Walk me through how you did the conceptual practice exam. Did you actually take it like without looking at the solution? Did you use it as a study guide? How did you take it?
All right, so my first time taking it, I treated it like an exam day. So I spent some time before I took it just reviewing my cheat sheet.
Okay.
And then after that, I took the exam straight through. That was before I learned like the time management question flagging system, which might have helped because was a big stressor for me in college when taking an exam. But that one I just did straight through. Took the exam straight through. I got my results. I saw what problems I got right, which ones I got wrong, and I used that as my study guide for here are the subjects that you're weaker in concept. Here are the concepts that you know you have solid, like these are super concrete. So I was able to adjust how I studied after that. And from there, with those results, is how I created those flashcards and charts and note sheets in order for me to really solidify my conceptual knowledge for the FE exam.
Got you. Okay, I really like that approach. And I feel like the solutions did also provide in-depth concepts. I made sure to not just go like the answer is this, but actually explain the concepts first and then going to like why. option A, B, and C are wrong and why is D correct, just to
Yeah,
give you guys as much concept. And I that's why I ask, like, you could literally use that as a study guide.
yeah. Which
Yeah.
was really the correct answers when you finish it really helped in me creating those flashcards later. I made the flashcards because my thing is I can understand it, but I need quick recall, is what I was telling myself. You need
Mm,
to recall this fast. And for me, the best way to do that is for flashcards, so I can just get better at going, oh, this subject, I know this answer, or that's that concept, I have this one already. Just getting better at that quick recall. But the way you had the answers, like reasons why this one's wrong, reasons why this one's right, really helped me go, all right, that's going to my flashcards. Really made that much easier on the later half for me.
yeah, that's awesome. Which subject or topics did you spend the most on and why?
In terms of taking the course or just reviewing?
Both.
Both? All right. So
Yeah.
that's admittedly easy. I don't know why I asked a clarification question. They're kind of the same subjects. So the same subjects I spent the most time on are merely the same subjects that I struggled with understanding the most in college. So when it
Oh.
came to them, I was like, yeah, this would be the one that would trip me up, that would take me longer to get through. So first it was statics, statics, dynamics, and thermo
Oh,
was like the
okay.
core
Yeah.
of the middle thing, but I feel like similar for a lot of people. Not so much more for fluid mechanics. Being an ocean engineer, fluid mechanics is kind of being into a bit. For fluid mechanics, it was less not understanding the concept, but more of those questions usually always just took me longer to answer. Not
Mm,
really not understanding what it's telling me, just the way that I had to solve the problems, the way my brain works for some of those problems. Always took me a bit longer than some other people. But those three were like the big ones: statics,
mm.
dynamics, and thermo.
Do you remember how much time you spent on them?
Um, Off the top of my head, I believe statics, I was able to get through the classes themselves in about, like, I had the individual module for statics, as well as the module in the morning course, I believe is where
Correct.
it is. But altogether for statics, I would say in terms of just going through the videos and the questions online, 3 weeks, and then I had the status practice exam that I took as well through Genie Prep. And then I spent like 2 weeks reviewing what I got wrong on that because it was one of those where I'm like, I got too much wrong on this for me to continue. So I would go back a lot. I'm like, I need this down before I get to dynamics. Because if you don't have statics down, dynamics is just a whole different thing.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I'd say similar timeline for dynamics, just going through that a bit slower because it is something that used to really confuse me in college, and it's been so long since I've taken that class. I took that earlier in my college education, so I'm like, it's been over 5 years since I've had to look at this subject. So that one took a bit, and kind of same for thermo. Thermo was took me a bit longer. I would say 3-ish to 4 weeks to get through it all to really understand it. Because I did do some extra problems out of the a green book. I forget the name of it. I just kept calling it the green book that Rim recommended I use to have those extra problems just to really solidify those, since I know they were those struggle subjects I had in college. So yeah.
Well, I think it was the book by Islam. Is it the
Yes.
one? Okay.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah. Um, okay. So about a month on each. Did you go back and review those subjects later on?
Yes, I did.
You did.
For the exam, I reviewed those a bit since I knew that those were the ones that I was most worried about. They're the
Yeah.
ones that would stress me out the most in college, and of course, they're the ones that stress me out the most during the exam process. So I did definitely review them to make sure I had them right. And the questions or concepts that I just could not get right, at one point I had to go, stop it. Focus on the ones that you really truly know, because you're not going to relearn anything like the 2 weeks before to solidify everything that you do have now. But yeah, I did definitely review them. That was a lot of my review beforehand.
Yeah. Um, So one of the common things, because like somebody might hear this and be like, wow, you spent like almost 3 months just reviewing these subjects, static dynamics and thermodynamics. And also there's a huge portion on the FE exam, like especially thermo, you get like 15 questions. It's like that's a lot of questions. Um, and I always say this when I was preparing the FE mechanical course, at the end of thermo, I was like, I don't want to see thermo for another like 6 months. It took so long. Like I finished FE Civil. I did most topics in the mechanical, but thermodynamics, it was just like, and the whole time I'm like, how are students supposed to remember every single thing here? It's so dense, so many concepts. It was like, it was intense. So I know exactly what you had to go through, covering thermodynamics. Plus, you add that it was one of your weaknesses, so that makes it even more challenging. But I feel like a lot of times students they struggle with the time, spending so much time preparing for the FE exam. And we're gonna dive in a little bit and discuss your schedule. But a lot of times I would see people posting online and Reddit and just talking about how, like, while they're studying for the FE exam, they just almost feel so miserable because they miss out on family gatherings and spending time with friends. Basically, you have no life, right? You work and you go study. That's it for like, and it's can be very discouraging for a lot of people when they hear that they need to study for like 8 months or 6 months. Every student's schedule is different, but when they hear that timeline, it discourages people from even trying the FE exam. Did you experience any of that? Did you feel at any point started to feel discouraged? And how did you overcome it and you kept going?
Awesome. So I definitely can relate to that. Because at one point during it, I was like, man, this has taken me a while to get through. But I was telling myself, but you have to get through it. To get through it, you have to go through it. Really, is what I'm telling myself. So I'm like, you gotta sit down, you gotta do the work. But it's not like I was pulling off 20 plus hours every single week. When things come up like for family events like Sweet 16, my friends got married, like things like that, I would try to schedule around it, try to find pockets where I could study. Even I would tell myself, if you can't sit down and pull off a full 2, 3, 5 hours, if you sat down, just pull off 1 hour today, that's better than no hour at all. So you just keep the consistency theme of sit down and just focus for whatever time you can allot for that day. Not
Hmm.
every week is perfect. Not every month is perfect, but just try to keep yourself consistent and offer yourself that little bit of grace since we are human. We do kind of need to see our family and our friends and also be able to take that breather so you don't burn yourself out was something I also had to remind myself. Also, definitely have people in my life going, hey, Gabby, step away for a bit. You're getting to a point of burnout. You need to come to the park. Come let's breathe a little bit before you dive back in again. And that helped out a lot.
That's awesome. So you try to have a balanced life. You
Yeah.
didn't go at it for like 3 months and you start, studying for crazy hours a week. You were like, I'm gonna spread this out. What's important is that I show up. Doesn't matter how for the amount, whatever I can do every day, and I'll just um be okay with that. That was your kind of your approach.
Yeah, because life gets crazy sometimes. And at the beginning, if I couldn't make like my staunch schedule, because I'm a pretty organized person for the most part when it comes to schedule. So when those surprises would happen, studying was the first thing to go. Like if an emergency came up and I had to offer help, I'm not gonna say no, no, I can't help you because I had to sit down at my desk for 2 hours. I got up and I helped. So that would I would beat myself up over that. Like you're not working, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. You have a responsibility. You told yourself you were going to pass this exam.
Hmm.
But then I stopped and went, wait, I can't keep beating myself up because then I'm just feeling bad, and feeling bad is gonna make me want to study even less. So I need to offer myself some grace in my timeline to go, all right, today didn't go as planned. I only got an hour and a half in. Bummer, but tomorrow's a new day. We start again as soon as the sun rises tomorrow and strive to do better. And so the next day I get to like 2 hours, like awesome. And I kind of treated every day as like a new start just to make sure I wasn't beating myself up if I didn't meet my complete timeline. I did have the grace of having the amount of time I did to study. I didn't give myself like, I need to get this done in 4 months. Way back in the beginning of my journey, Rim said, don't set a date for your exam right now. Just worry about learning the material. And I kind of took that to heart, where I said, you
Hmm.
just have to learn this right now. You're not taking this exam tomorrow. Your focus right now is to just learn, which also helped alleviate some of that stress as well for those weeks where everything seemed to happen at once, and sitting at my desk didn't seem quite as feasible.
I love that. It's like you forgot about your goal for a few months. You're like, let's just focus on learning right now.
I
And
was just a student.
yeah, yeah, and that helps a lot with the pressure too, because it's like, no, I'm just showing up for myself to learn. There's
Mhm.
no exam, almost like that, right? You're tricking your brain.
Yeah.
Um, did you lose motivation at the end, or you were just like you just kept at it?
Like as I got closer to the exam,
Yeah.
no. Once I had like my exam date was set in like May, like May, the May before I took it. And once I had that exam date, it was like, all right, shoot, I gotta get through this. So it was kind of like I had a fire lit under me. I'm like, I have an end date now, which means I gotta get this done. So I really spun up production in those last 2 months. Luckily at work, that was like a slower time, so I was able to use leave so I can like go to the library. Because also during this process, I learned that sometimes studying at home is not the best place to study. Of course, you don't always have an option, but if you can go somewhere you can focus better, go where you can focus better, right? So I was able to do that in like those last 2 months and really expand my hours because at that point it was like seeing the finish line at a race. So I'm like, the finish line is right there. I just got to get to it. And that really actually helped motivate me towards the end. Was going there, the end is in sight. The goal is in sight. You just got to get there. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. When did you decide to book your exam?
So I booked my exam the like May 20th, around there. A little late, pretty late. I was lucky to find a spot at my testing center in July. My reason for booking it at that time, I booked it for July 22nd in May. Um, Mostly because I back when I started the journey with Genie Prep, I'm very much a person where I like all my ducks in a row before I start something. So I registered for the exam thinking I'd have a year to just schedule it, but no, it was a year to just take it. So I went, okay, I had a timeline I didn't notice. Well, I'm in a good spot, so I'm not going to cancel my registration to apply for more time because you'll have to pay again. Might as well just go for it now. So with that in mind, that's when I went, all right, and I started shifting my schedule around to make sure that I could make it for that July 22nd date. So that's really how that date got set, as me realizing it's not just scheduling. You have a year for it, you have a year to take it once you pay for it, which was not entirely clear to me when I did it. So for those that like have it paid for, you do have a year to take it unless you want to cancel it and redo it. Was not clear to me when I first did that. So just word of warning to those.
Okay.
But that's really how that date got set, was me going, oh, I need this done, or else I just have to pay for it again. I'd rather not have it paid for again. Let's just take it. So that's really how that July 22nd date got chosen.
Got you. Okay. And how many months did you study for your FE exam?
So I started Genie Prep last May. So
Okay.
I would say in terms of total time to take my exam, it was 14 months. But I would say the last like month and a half was really just finishing the afternoon course and a lot of practice exams and studying. I was able to give myself about a two-ish, 2.5-ish week buffer before my exam day where everything in terms of classes was finished and I could just focus on practice exams and reviewing for my exam.
Got you. Okay. So you spent 14 months studying for the FE. How many hours did you study a week?
So in the beginning, I was averaging probably 10 to 14 hours a week.
Okay.
As I got closer to my exam, and especially once that exam date was like there, I was able to build that up to get closer to doing like 20 to sometimes 25 hours per week
Okay.
because I was able to find more time or create more time for myself to sit down at a desk and just hammer it out.
Got you. Um, how did you study more during the weekend? Was it different than the week? Did you put in same hours?
Yeah, I would try to do longer blocks on the weekend than during the week. I do have a full-time 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. So the weekends were definitely where my longer blocks were. Usually during the work week, like Monday through Friday, if I was good and I had like a good amount of time, I was able to pull off 2.5 hours. But there were some weeks where, like I said before, where I would come home from work and, or if I came home from work late, which happens more times than I like to admit sometimes. But and I said I can only afford 1 hour today. Well, let's make that 1 hour count, and that's how I would deal with my work days, my work week.
Okay. Um, you passed your FE exam on your first time,
I did.
right? First
Mhm.
try. Um, did you feel like your schedule, like if you would have taken it sooner, do you think you would have passed on your first try? The reason I'm asking because a lot of students they tend to rush into taking the FE exam. And like when you told me 14 months, that's why I was pausing earlier. Most I mean, we don't interview all the students, but on average, I would say it takes about 8 months for students to pass the FE exam, some 3, 4 months, some takes them um, uh, you know, 1 year, I think, the most. But also, I think the difference is that some of those students have already taken it a couple times before. And so that 4 month period would be usually for their last attempt. But the knowledge they have, it's also from. So, and then you have like, if a student takes the FE exam 3 or 4 times, that's 3 or 4 times paying the NCS. And then the losing the confidence, feeling disappointed after getting the failed results and overcome all that to get back to studying and the mental thing that goes with it as well. That also, costs, your health, your mental health, and then you have the money spent on courses and NCS and all that. And then, it's just because I feel like sometimes they just want to get over with, just get it done, hoping to get lucky on the exam and then, get the right question and then just pass it and then find out they failed. And so I feel, and most times I feel like if the students would have just done basically what you did. Like, just take more time. You feel like you are missing out on life. Okay, slow down. Then maybe study a little bit less and just spread it out. But give yourself more time to be ready so that you can pass it on your first try. And I'm not trying to say like it's a bad thing to fail. It's okay to fail. Like, like it really doesn't matter how many times you fail the FE. But I feel like a lot of times if the students would just take a step back and just slow down, that's why I paused when you told me that 14 months is really, I was just thinking about your approach. I really like how you did it here. Did were you did you not want to fail? Like what made you decide to do it this way? Like were you afraid of failing? Was your goal to pass on your first try?
So in the beginning, I thought I was gonna be like, I'll get this done in 4 months and be finished. But then 4 months came and passed, and I was like, well, I'm still learning. Then 8 months came and passed, and well, I'm still learning. So I told myself, let's not rush this. Again, it was that mentality of I'm still just a student right now. I'm a student until my classes are done. And then when classes are done, then's your final exam. Right. And that's really how I treated it. I don't think like if I tried to say do the exam in like February or March or that timeline there, I don't think I would have been successful at that time. Or
Hmm.
if I was and I really just hammered out the month beforehand and didn't allow myself to live, for lack of a better term beforehand, I may have passed, but I would not have been in as good of a mental state as I was on that exam day. Because on exam day that morning, never happened before. I woke up on the day of an exam and I was already smiling. Like I was raring to go. I was an athlete before, so I woke up feeling like it was a competition day where I'm like, I know what I'm doing. I got this. I was like excited to like I was like singing songs on the way to like my exam, like hype up music. Like I was really hyped just to go in and take that exam, which is the first time it's ever happened to me. And I really do think it's because I just gave myself the time to learn and absorb and not worry so much about like if I was out like with my little cousins or what have you and go, oh, I should be studying right now. No, I allow myself to live in the moment for that moment. And then when the event was done, that's when I go, all right, gotta study tomorrow. Or all right, it's done. I have like an hour before I have to get to bed. Let's see what I can do in an hour and sit myself down. And it just felt like a lot healthier way to learn versus trying to cram everything as fast as I could because I've been there and then trying to do the exam. Just allowing myself to just learn and just enjoy the privilege of being able to learn.
I love that. I love that approach. How did you stay disciplined over the months of studying? Was there anything specific that you did that helped you to keep showing up?
I had a couple things. I had a couple things in place. So one, I had like a friend from college who she's doing her PhD program, but we would video call each other to keep each other accountable for
Mm.
when she had to do work and I had to study. It'd be a Zoom call a lot like this. And we called it having an accountability buddy, just have someone there, even if it's just or like other friends just going, hey, if I have you on speakerphone while I'm working, I just need someone there while I'm working right now just to help get me in the mindset. Because, and it wasn't an every time thing, but sometimes you just kind of needed the extra person, especially
Um,
if you're used to studying in groups. I always had a study group in college. So sometimes I'll be like, I just need another person there to help keep me sitting in this chair for this, however long I'm sitting in this chair just to work on this. And someone to randomly go, hey, how are you doing in that thing you're doing right now? And I go, oh yeah, I'm doing good. And like just like that back and forth was helpful a lot. Sometimes it was as simple as, man, I wake up in the morning like on a Saturday, like your Saturday after your work week, you're tired. I wake and go, I have to go to the library. I don't really want to go to the library, but I gotta go to the library. You know what's gonna make it easier? I would legitimately plan to go to like get a fancy coffee to sit down with me while studying, like a little treat to do that with, just like incentive. But like, all right, I got my nice coffee, which means I gotta go sit down and study now. And sometimes that would help out, little things like that along the way. So that's kind of like the combination of way to help keep me motivated,
yeah.
especially during like the longer months. And then of course when like my exam was in sight, the motivation was the fact that it was in sight, and that was kind of what drove me there. But before that, when like I was feeling down or really tired, it was either friends or like little things like that just to get me to get up, sit in that desk and work.
Yeah. What were some things that you tried that didn't work or that w you wouldn't recommend to other students?
All right. Things I tried that didn't work. Studying with other things playing in the background for me personally. Like
Mm,
say like studying and you're going through like the problems, like of course listen to the lecture, but then when problems come and you're sitting in that silent room and you're doing the problems, let the room be silent. Because if you have, say, like a podcast playing in the background and music playing in the background, which I like to do when I'm doing like paperwork, just to have a noise there, it was sometimes very distracting. I felt like two conflicting things happening in my mind at once, which made it harder to focus on the problem. And more often than not, I would end up having to turn it off because I can't focus with that much stimuli happening. Let the room be quiet and just focus on that problem. Or another tip I would say that would help as well with that is that when you're working and you're like, wow, I'm really tired, I want a break, don't pick up something like your phone or what have you, or a book or anything for that break. Just sit in it, just breathe and just think about it because it's really easy to get distracted and go off on a different tangent. Right. So I would discourage from those two things because sometimes that tangent you might think is 15 minutes, but then 45 go by. Right. So just I would say those two things I would really say just keep conscious of.
yeah, I like that, especially the second one. The distraction is a big one. You get on social media and then that's it, engineering is gone.
Yeah.
Like now you need like 20 minutes to get back to where you were. Yeah, for sure. I agree with that one. Um, do you have any study tips? Like how did you approach learning? How did you approach like was there any things that you did that kind of helped you with recall, reviewing? Did you have any review sessions during the week? What are some of the study tips that you recommend to students?
Yeah, so some study tips I do have in terms of like when you're going through the course, if there's like if you get a problem, you answer it and you watch the video after showing you how to do the problem. Even if you got the problem right, follow the video because it's sometimes possible to get the right number, but your process wasn't correct. So make sure you understand the process and how to get there. Also, don't be afraid to say you finish all the problems in a set right? You have the 100% complete on whatever chapter you were on there. If you still feel weak in it, do other practice problems. Like I did that for statics, I did that for dynamics, I did that for thermo, which did add to the time for those classes. But it's because I knew even though I went through other videos, I was like, man, I did all of these, but I know I struggled with this even beforehand, so I really need to make sure these are solid before I pick it and move on. So in the problems on it that I know I would struggle in or take me a longer time to solve or what have you, I would find problems in that same concept in like the green book and just go through them and try to make sure I understand them and try to relay that to the ones I did in the Genie Prep program. Be like, this is how you deal with these problems. This is the method you have to follow. And everyone's method is going to be different. But as long as that problem makes sense to you and how your brain works is what matters. I'd recommend that. And then for actually reviewing when it comes time for the exam, oddly enough, I found for like creating flashcards helped me a lot for that instant recall. Just repetition in problems, repetition and like watching the videos for like the concepts of those problems. If you're like, I kind of understand it, but sometimes I get this problem right. Like it's like less than a 50-50 chance that I get these kinds of problems right. Definitely go back, rewatch the videos, redo the problems that are on the Genie Prep site, and then if you're still feeling iffy about it, then do extra problems from other sources as well, just to get more practice in that problem type. Because oftentimes you're just missing one little thing in it that's just making it not click in your brain, and you just got to figure out what that missing link is.
Mm. I like that. Something I noticed is that you're very aware with your thoughts, and then also you're very honest with yourself. And you are not afraid to be uncomfortable, to like sit through. Because a lot of people, I interviewed Diego. I think we posted his interview last week. Um, and one of the things he mentioned is that if there was a subject that he didn't know, he at first he was just like, I don't know this subject. I don't want to know. I don't care. Like he was, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
he didn't want to just feel uncomfortable. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. When did you develop those skills?
So becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable is definitely a long time thing to learn. In terms of academics, that was probably like the biggest caveat for me in like say college is when I didn't understand something immediately, it would really frustrate me. And that was something I really worked through, at least in an academic sense here, of when I would have like again statics, dynamics, thermo, the main three for me, where I sit there and be like, oh man, I'm struggling through this but I have to get through this if I want to understand it. I can't just skip past it because then I'm just going to keep getting this wrong. I have to let myself know nothing. Accept that
Mm,
you don't know it so you can know it, right? Don't feel bad. Don't beat yourself up because you don't understand it the first time. Just allow yourself to keep going through it and keep going at it again. And I think a lot of what helps me with that mentality is because that's the same mentality people have for things like music or athletics, both things I did before where you kind of have
mm.
to, if you're not good at something, you kind of have to get better at it or else you're not going to perform the way you want. So it's just kind of having almost that same mentality of I have to get comfortable with this in order to get better.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now that you brought it up, and then I think also like a lot of people who play sports and athletics, usually they have that kind of mindset. Like I gotta just be better. I gotta show up. I gotta do it. Now that you mentioned that again, what kind of sport did you play?
I was a swimmer, actually. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Do you still do sport? Do you still work out?
I swim when I can. I that honestly would help with like clearing my mind if like I was just really struggling with something. I'd be like, all right, I gotta go to the gym. Do a couple of laps. They'll help me think through it. And for anyone who's not an athlete, for anyone who does like arts, like drawing, music, sculpting, it's the
Mhm.
same thing. When you have a skill your weekend, I played violin. When you have a skill your weekend, you're only going to get better at it if you practice. But you have to be bad at it first to know that you need to practice at it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Gabby, let's dive into your exam day. So
Okay.
you mentioned a little bit earlier that you were really excited singing in the car. Um, you got there. Did you feel nervous at all at any point? before you?
Um, like before my exam.
Yeah.
So the day before I was getting nervous, and I told
Okay.
him, I was like, man, like I know I reviewed everything. I know what I know, but I'm getting the jitters, which is normal for me. Again, I was a nervous test taker in college. And she sent me a video with some like other student encouragement, and she encouraged me as well, and that really helped calm me down. I was like, I do know what I'm doing. That's right. I don't know how I forgot that. I spent this long studying. I know what I'm doing right now. So with that, I kind of forced myself to like calm down. I tried to not go to bed nervous, like drank chamomile tea, like let's just relax a little bit. Because if you stress yourself out, it means like it's like putting a rubber band in the cold. It's gonna be hard for your brain to be flexible the next day. So you want to be able to relax a little bit beforehand. So with that encouragement that kind of like soothed my nerves a bit, um, I was able to get a full night's rest, which is super important. Do not go into this exam tired by any means. You want a full night's rest. And when I woke up the next morning, I didn't expect to feel as positive as I did. Like it was a genuine surprise because usually on exam days, I'd be shaking in my boots. Like I'd be so extremely nervous and anxious. But that morning I woke up, I still had the mentality of that's right, I know what I'm doing. Rim told me I know what I'm doing. That other student told me I know what I'm doing. My entire support group and my life is going, you have this. You've been studying for so long. You got this already. You're the one doubting you. So once I got over that hump, waking up on exam day, I woke up, ate a light breakfast, and I was just really excited just to try to do my best. Because that was another thing that I told myself to kind of alleviate that stress, since it was my first time taking the exam. Best outcome, I pass. Worst outcome, I don't pass. And if you don't pass, well then you just take it again. It's not the end all be all. You have a chance to go at it again if you don't get on the first try. So just do your best on this try right now. If you get it, great. If not, you just do it again. And I kept telling myself that it wasn't like this concrete thing, like if you fail, like you're bad at this. It's like, no, it just means it wasn't my day. I'll do it again and I'll try again next time. Look, and I did pass that first time, but I always kept telling myself that so I didn't feel so heavy
Yeah.
for the exam day. Kind of like how exam I keep coming back to college, but I feel like that's the commonality that we all have.
Yeah.
Exams, like final exams in college, were heavy because it's your final exam. You have to do well in that to get the grade you want or to pass or what have you. This isn't that. You can take it again. There's no GPA report card that this is going to affect later. You are just taking an exam. It's not like your GPA is going to be affected or what have you. You already graduated college. This is just like a certification.
Wow. I love that. Like I've never thought about it that way. Like I always, students would tell me that they're so afraid of failing, but I never understood why. And I think it ha actually has to do with that because like in college, if you failed, well, one, you get an F in your report card, and that does not look good in your transcript. And then
Mhm.
second, you have to repay again for the class to take it again the second semester. And then it might delay your graduation date because you can't take another class because usually it's a prerequisite. And now it makes total sense. There's like when you fail in college, it's so different than when you fail the FE. You can take it as many times as you want. That was like a aha moment when you were talking. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna steal that. No, I'm kidding. I will tell people. But I'm gonna start sharing that with students. That's like, I love how you mentioned that. That's really cool. Did, did you have a strategy to answering questions?
Yes. So Rim sent me like a video or reminded me of like this quad chart. I'm probably not using the right term, but this chart method
Hmm.
of before you even start answering problems, you sit down, you write a chart on the little paper or marker board or whatever they give you, going easy, medium, long, and then difficult. Then you scrub through your exam. I did it in two halves. I did the first, like the morning half and the second half, where I labeled all of the problems, like the ones that I can answer easily, the ones that
Mm,
were medium in difficulty for me, the ones I knew I could answer, but I know take me a long time, and the
mm,
ones where I read the prompt and went, wow, I don't know. And I labeled those down and it gave me a way to like itemize it. So I had my list of priorities. First ones you got to get done are all the ones, and also I flagged all the problems. I did this.
Hmm.
I can easily go back to them. But all the first ones I have to do are the ones in the easy column. Next is going to be the medium column. Next is going to be a long column. And if I have extra time, it'd be for the difficult column. But if I
Hmm.
got to the questions in there and I went, wow, I still don't know, I didn't want to eat up time. So for that, and this is admittedly something that I got from like doing standardized exams in like grade school, it's multiple choice. You have a 1 in 25 chance. Well, you have 25% chance of getting that right.
Right.
Don't leave a problem unanswered.
Yeah.
And so I kind of broke it down for both the morning and the afternoon section. Just make sure I got through all the problems, make sure I answered the ones I knew I could answer confidently, and kind of helped with that time strategy where I just had a list of priorities to get through. It didn't feel so big anymore. I kind of like broke it
Mm.
down to easier, more manageable pieces.
Got you. How many questions did you guess?
I don't remember that number.
Yeah, no.
Not
That's fine.
not too many. Not too
Not
many.
too many.
Because for some of the difficult ones where I got to the end, for quite a few of them, I was like, oh, wait, I do know this. And the only
Mm.
time I would really have to guess a problem was when I was like, for the morning half, I tried to make sure, since you could eat up all your time in the first half of the exam, I tried to cut my time in half as best as I could. That way
Mm.
I have ample time for the second half as well. I tried to plan that out for it. So it's when I was getting to that time when I know I need to finish question number, what have you at this time to have enough time for the second half. But I have like 3 or 4 questions unanswered. I have like a minute left. I'm not going to get through 3 questions in a minute. I'm guessing these questions so I can have enough time for the second half.
Mm.
And for the second half, it was there's 30 seconds left in the exam. I have like 3 problems left. I'm not leaving your problem unanswered. That's because that's a guarantee you're gonna miss your shot. So I'm like, I don't have enough time in 30 seconds to do these questions. And that's when I would go into guessing. I didn't do too many of them. It's mostly when just time wouldn't allow me to actually go through that problem.
During the exam, did you feel at any point, did you get nervous? Or were you just like enjoying it? You're like, I got this, I know this.
So for the morning half, I was like, this is awesome. I was really just chugging along through it. I'm like, I feel great right now. For the second half, that's when a lot of the problems on it were problems I knew would take me longer to take,
Yeah.
longer to solve. So for the second half, my nervousness was not in me not knowing something, it was me going, wow, I wish I took, I wish I didn't split it in half evenly. I wish I left more time for the second half and the first half since I felt so strong the first half. I'm like, I could have spent a little less time there, or if I, like hindsight, if I could have spent less time there, I would have had more time for the second half just to feel more comfortable in the time that it took me to answer those problems. Because I'd be answering a problem, I get the right answer, but I'll be like, that took me a bit too long. And that
Mhm.
would happen just a bit too many times where I was like, I was getting nervous on time.
Mm.
Luckily, once I got through the problems, I was like, okay, I did better on time than I thought I would. But during it, I was like, oh no, oh no, my clock's running quick. These problems are taking me a bit longer than I expected. I kind of wish I left a bit more time for that second half, but no, it worked out as it did.
Right? But this is great, for the viewers who watching this and their exam is coming up. That's actually like a very good point you brought up. Did you feel like the questions in the afternoon are just longer to solve than the morning? Is that why you felt like you should have left a little bit more time for the afternoon section?
Yeah, for me, those questions, again, not everyone's brain's wired the way mine is, but for me,
Got
the
you.
questions on the second half were ones where I'm like, I know this concept, but these problems just take me longer
Longer, yeah.
just to solve. And so that's mainly it there. I don't know if that'd be everyone's issue, but that was certainly
Yeah.
mine.
Got you, yeah. No, that makes sense. Did you get any conceptual questions?
I did quite a few. Yeah.
Okay, like 20, 30 questions.
I would say closer to like 20, 20-ish, yeah, around
20.
there.
Okay, okay. It's not bad. Um, were there any topics you found surprisingly easy or surprisingly difficult on the exam day?
So yeah, I was able to get through like my statics and dynamics problems a lot easier than
Ooh,
I thought I would. I was really happy with myself for that. And
nice.
including for things like thermo, I was surprised that I was able to get through the problems that I did. The ones that took me by surprise were probably be like heat transfer.
Yeah, okay.
Transfer, I was just like, wow. I know heat transfer. This isn't clicking right now. And those were ones where I would go back to those problems and I would have like I scrolled through the first time and went back to review for my flagged unanswered questions. It was the heat transfer ones where I was taking the time to get that right answer that were stressing me out on time because I was just taking longer than I usually did in my review to answer those. And I think that's like sometimes on exam day, certain things just fall away from you, just with
Yeah.
the entire day happening. There's a lot going on in that one time. Your brain's going through a lot. So that was the one thing for me where I felt like the workers in my brain were just going, I can't find the file. I just can't find it right now. That's really what it felt like. But I was able to get it towards the end. But heat transfer surprised me in that sense.
That is so interesting. Yeah. Okay, cool. And yeah, I was gonna ask you about statics, dynamics, thermo, but you went well. You went so that's really good that you spend that extra time on it. Um, Earlier you mentioned that you are a nervous, you get nervous when you're test taker, when you take tests. And because we get this a lot from students. We have a lot of, few students who they get really nervous about just taking the exam, no matter how they feel, ready. Would you list the things that you feel like helped you overcome it? And I think you did mention already a few things throughout the interview, but I think if we summarize it for the viewer, it might really help a lot of people. Because like it was amazing how you went into the exam not feeling anxious, which was not my experience. I was like super anxious. I couldn't even sleep. I did have the chamomile tea. It helped a little bit. I was still really nervous. Uh, so I guess, part of it, I wish I had Rim at the time to just tell me you got this. But yeah, if you can just list the things that you feel like really helped you to overcome that test anxiety.
Of course. So, one, trust that you know what you know. You'll be the first one to doubt yourself, and that doubt is what's going to hurt the most if it's coming from you, right? And for things that may be making you doubt yourself, like what if you got like a bad score on a practice exam or what have you, that's just a practice exam. That's just telling you things you need to review at. It's not the reflection of how you're going to do on that day, right? That's just telling you what you just need to spend a little bit more time on. Use that as a marker, not as like a determination for how you're going to do. That helps a lot. So just really trust what you know. It's not as it's not as heavy as a final exam, right? Talking back to that college exam thing, if you fail it, on the off chance you do, I trust that most people are going to do awesome. But on the off chance that you do, it's not the end of the world. Simply, you just got to review what went wrong and take it again, right? It's not going to reflect on you at all. It's not going to go in any report that's going to get sent to anywhere. It just wasn't your day. You have another day to hit it again and hit it out of the park, right? So those two things really helped out. I feel with my testing anxiety.
I love that. Thank you, Gabby, for that. Let's talk about when you left the exam. How did you feel?
Um, one, tired.
Yeah.
You will be exhausted after the exam, but I left, and at first I was doing the thing that I used to do in college, where I was like, "Oh no, if I got like these many wrongs, and what if I got this wrong and that wrong?" And that was really like stressing me out. And
Yeah.
then, and I was like thinking about that on the ride home, and also trying to not think about that on the ride home, like trying to tell myself, "Stop worrying. You can't change anything you just did." It's over. There's
Yeah.
really no point worrying about it. So it's like those two mindsets kind of clashing in my head until
Yeah.
I sat down and I really thought about it and went, I can't change it. But I looked at this is gonna sound a little silly, but I looked at like the number of problems and I'm like, what's the bare minimum of problems you would have to get right to just pass? And once I had that number, I was like, well, I definitely feel like I got more than that correct because of how I felt during the exam. So I think I have a pretty good shot at this. I think I got it. And that's really what it took an inordinate amount of time for me to get to that moment. It took a bit for me to calm down from just the exam to be able to sit down and be like, I think I do have this, just based off of that alone, where it's like, yeah, no, I really do think I got it. I didn't want to say yes, I got it, because of course there's always a chance that like you were
Yeah.
off by 2 points and what have you. But based on that, I was like, I think I actually have this. And with that in mind, I was like, so let's just calm down a little. And then the chance you don't, like you've been telling yourself for the past 14 months, you just do it again if you did it. And it was just me telling me myself that for like the week until I get my results, just to keep myself calm while
Yeah.
waiting for them to come in.
It's crazy how our brain works. It's like you constantly gotta like calm yourself, like talk to your brain, talk to yourself, your brain, and be like, just calm down, we got this. It's like a fight.
Yeah.
It's crazy how our brain works, but a week later, you got your result. How did you feel at that moment?
I almost didn't believe it. Like when I opened the link and I got to and I had the green pass, I was like, really? Like I refreshed the page. And I was like, oh my God, no, really, I did it. And I learned it at work because I first to myself, we're not going to look at it until we get home. And then I quickly tossed that out of the window when I saw that I got the email notification. And I was like, oh my goodness. I sent the results to my family, sent it to Rim. I think I basically like sent it to all my friends. And I was like, guys, I did it. It was all it was just really like an accomplishment. I felt like I won a trophy or something. I was like, I can't believe it. I was just really proud of myself in that moment too. I was like, I did it. I actually did it. It's really just solidified all the work I did beforehand.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm really happy for you. How did passing the FE affected your confidence and your career?
I both passing the FE and preparing for it, I feel much more solidified to call myself an engineer. When
Hmm.
I say I know my basics, I know the concepts, I know what I'm talking about, I feel much more sure in myself in my workplace. And also, I found while studying for the exam, I'd be at work and be like, oh no, I know exactly why that happens because XYZ that I learned in my courses. I was really able to cross apply it that way, which also made me feel just really confident in my role. So, and that was just preparing for it. Of course, actually passing in the exam, I was like, yeah, no, I definitely know what I'm talking about. I just felt really confident both in myself as a student in my ability to learn and apply that knowledge, but and
Mm.
overall just confident in myself.
That's amazing. I love how you said that. As a student who's able to learn the knowledge and apply it, that's really cool. Because we graduate college and then we might think that we forgot how to learn. And so this is kind of like a proof, like, no, you can still always you as an engineers, we gotta always be learning.
Mhm.
Um, that I've never thought about it like that. Now that you passed your FE, are you planning to take the PE exam?
I'm definitely thinking about taking the PE exam. That one's kind of funny. I don't currently have like enough time working under someone with the PE to like get
Mm.
the license. But when I took and passed my FE, a coworker was like, "So you're doing your PE next?" And I was like, "Oh, that's right. That is something I can do now. That's not some impossible thing that's down the road. That's something I can accomplish and something I definitely want to look into more. I feel currently I'm not as narrowed as I would need to be to go in for a PE. I feel like
Mm.
I need a bit more time to ruminate and think on that.
Mm.
But it's definitely something I'm more than likely considering and will probably more than likely do. But I feel like I just need a bit more time to narrow down what I will do for the PE. Since as my current understanding, it is less broad than the FE is.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah, it's more specific to the work that you will be doing.
Mhm.
Um, Mechanical is not as much as civil. Like civil, we have like five PEs you can choose from.
Mm,
At PE mechanical, you have like three to
okay.
choose from. I don't know if you're planning to do PE mechanical, but I'm guessing that's the one you would do, PE mechanical. I
More
don't,
than likely.
is there PE ocean? I don't think so, right?
As far as I know right now, I don't believe
I
so.
don't think so.
And I
Yeah.
don't know if there's one for other disciplines either.
No, no,
No, yeah,
no.
so it would
That's
probably
why,
be
yeah,
yeah.
that's why I always tell students like try when you're picking the FE, try to look at the PE exam that you'll be taking, and then from that you can decide the FE because there's some overlap.
Hmm.
When you take FE, well, FE other disciplines, FE mechanical, they're pretty close. But it's like when like you have a civil students and they're considering FE other disciplines. When you look at PE civil, is so different. And then also like you learn thermal heat transfer, which doesn't necessarily related to the civil engineering. So, but yeah. All right, Gabby, I have one more question for you. If a student comes up to you and asks you to list three things that really helped you pass your FE exam, what would you say to them?
First thing I would say is consistency is key. Now, consistency doesn't always have to be perfect, but always plan on being able to sit down and work for whatever time that you can. Being as consistent as possible in both your studying and also in your mindset, I would say is very important. So that'll be one. Two, be kind to yourself during this process. Don't beat yourself up. Making yourself feel bad will just make the entire thing harder. Allow yourself some grace as you're going through it. And three, I would just say breathe, right? Calm down a bit. You will be fine. There's no need to build this up to the point it becomes like almost feels like an enemy to yourself. It is something that you're doing for you, for your career, or what have you. It is an endeavor that you've taken upon yourself. So just allow it to be a journey, not necessarily a fight.
Oh, I like that. Gabby, I really liked talking to you. I really liked your approach, your journey, your schedule, your mindset, how aware you are of your thoughts, the constant fight that you're having with yourself. Um, and then I really loved how like passing the FE affected your confidence as an engineer. Is such an incredible achievement. I am so happy for you and proud of you. And thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your journey with us. I think it's going to help a lot of people and inspire a lot of students to keep going and not be afraid of failing the FE and just keep at it until they pass the FE exam. So again, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your story with us.
Of course, and thank you for having me. And I really must send thanks to you and your entire team. You guys helped so much. This would not have been as feasible as it was if I was trying to do it on my own. So thank you as well.
Thank you, Gabby. Appreciate it. Thank you.